I want to make sure I'm live before I get started here. I start early, so I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping before I get into the pre-show. But this is for you if you're watching this on a replay. This is a Scrivener 3 tooltip that I think you'll find really useful if you're a writer. It will help you visualize what you have to do every day, and I'm going to get into it at the start of the show. But first, I wanted to explain what's going on right now and how I'm doing this. This should not be monetized. I'm not going to monetize my live streams. My replays will be monetized. So if you want to watch this without ads, watch it live. Subscribe to the channel, and that's what you'll get. What you see is what you get. No editing. I'm not going to do any of that fancy schmancy stuff. No B-roll stuff. I'm going to go straight to my screen here when we go live, and I'm going to show you the tooltip. And then I'll talk about some other things. So, yes, I'm going to put this stuff up front. So if you want to get to the meat of this stuff, if you're watching this in a replay, you will skip about 5 to 7 minutes or so. I have a timer before the show starts, and when the show starts, I'm going to get right into the Scrivener 3 and the tooltip, which is like basically a project target. I'm a project manager, so that's what I do. So that's basically what I want to talk about here on the pre-show. So with that, I guess, how much time do I got? Well, I got in a couple minutes, so I think I'm right on time. So what I'm going to do now is start, let's see, yeah, start that and end that. So it's really live. I'm doing this, and here we go. About 2 minutes, then I'll start the timer, play some music, which is sort of a, get you in the mood kind of deal. And then we go into the show, do the show, and then at the end of the show, we'll do a exit. When you see the exit music playing, that's the close, and we'll go from there. I hope you will subscribe, and well, I hope that I provide useful information that you find helpful. Howdy. That's called Beyond Elysium by Wellness from Epidemic Sound. Check it out. Okay, it's kind of a hard rock kind of thing, but yeah, I kind of like the tune. But what I want to get into is the tooltip for Scrivener 3. Scrivener 3, if you're a writer, if you're interested in writing, if you are, I mean, this is the New Year's resolution. You want to write stuff, right? I would highly suggest, I mean, if you're going to write a screenplay, use a product called Fade In. There's an add-in for Google Docs. It's Google Docs for WordPress. There's like a WordPress add-in, an extension for Google Docs. You can write in Google Docs and then directly upload to your WordPress website. But if you want to write something a little bit more substantial, a fiction, novel, novella, or maybe even nonfiction, if you're into that, I'm writing fiction. That's my New Year's resolution. And I'm giving myself 5 months to write a novel. 5 months. Now, typically, and it kind of depends, the length of the novel depends on the kind of novel that you're going to write. And there are, generally some accepted norms. I mean, if you go to any bookstore, I mean, granted, you're going to see books that are categorized by genre, right? It's what sells. And some people may, your creative self may feel, why do they pigeonhole me into this, thing? Well, because people want to read something that they're interested in, nonfiction, Western, or fantasy, or science fiction, or drama, or romance, which is a really broad category, or any number of other young adult, fantasy. Not the first person who ever wrote a Dracula novel, right? But I want to give you a tooltip in Scrivener 3, which is a program, $50. I mean, considering that there are other programs that are much more expensive, $50 for a one-time fee for that version 3. If they go to a version 4 in the future, yeah, you'll pay an upgrade fee, but it won't be $50. But it's a really complete program. Scrivener 3 is available for Mac and for Windows. The Windows release was released a few months ago, and I'm really sold on the guys who did this because they waited until that version for Windows was, it went through like a year's worth of testing. I use the Mac version on my Mac back here and on my MacBook, but what I'm going to show you tonight is on the Windows version, and just to show you that you can do the same thing on Windows. And if you understand this on Windows, if you use a Mac, you'll find it in the same place. It's kind of okay. All right. But I highly suggest you get Scrivener 3 and pick a deadline date. When do you want to be done by? Have that in your mind. You got to think about some before you start on your project. I'm not beginning to write my novel until the 1st of January, in that time frame. After the 1st of the year, after the family leaves on the 3rd of January, actually. But sometime after that, after the 3rd of January, I'm going to start writing. And after that day, I will have basically 100 days to write. 5 months. And that gives me, how many words do I have to do? If you're writing a young adult novel, maybe 40,000 words. If you're writing something more substantial, romance novel, maybe 60 to 80. You're writing a fantasy or a science fiction or something in that, maybe 100,000. Mystery novel, maybe. I'm thinking of 100,000. I went to 120,000 just to push myself because I know that's probably the maximum number of words that I want to do in one book. All right. You got to have the 3 act. You got to have the beginning, the middle, the end, right? And you got to fit that within 100,000 words, roughly. I went to 120 just to say it. So let me switch over here. And what I'm showing you right here is Windows Scrivener. And yeah, those are words on my Scrivener. This is live, folks. I'm not editing this. This is live. So this is Scrivener. These are the words. This is actually the words, my homecoming. These are some of the bullet points that I wanted to touch on. Go up here to Project. You will find this on the Mac and on the Windows. Project Targets. I put in, this is 120,000 words. You can edit that to 100,000. So if I change that to 100,000 words, all right? And then I set my deadline date to June 1st, 2022. I have 172 days left, which means every day I have to write roughly 600 words a day. Go over here to the advanced and you'll have to click this as your deadline. That's where you set your deadline. I would highly suggest to do that. Your deadline is a sacred date in your publishing. You must consider that a sacred date that you cannot alter. That is the date when you will be done. That means your writing will be complete, your editing will be complete, your assignment will be complete. You will be ready to print that to PDF to send it to a publisher or an editor or someone who's going to look at this and give you a rejection letter, basically. All right, I'm trying to be nice. Now, we only want to count the documents that are included in the compile, and that is the manuscript. In Scrivener, that over here on the left-hand side, this is what's printed. Whatever is in your manuscript folder is going to be printed. That's what we wanted to consider our printed words. We don't want our outline or anything else we do. If we modify this and we add some folders, we're not going to count that stuff. Okay, and we're only going to count that group only. And on the second tab with the session target, every day, because we have to meet a goal per day, you reset the session every day. I set mine at 2 o'clock in the morning. I suspect that I am going to be sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when it's going to reset for me. All right. And I'm going to automatically calculate. That's the other thing you have to check. So you set your deadline date, then you check this box to automatically calculate from your draft deadline. You don't have to select the days here, but if you have a schedule, say you're not going to work on Sunday or Saturday for religious holidays or Friday for a religious holiday, if you're not going to work a specific day or for some other reason, or if you have a specific day, you can only write on 3 days a week because you go to school 2 days a week and the other 3 days you're writing. I know people have done that in the past. This is where you do that. All right. And you select OK and you can close this out. You go up here and you have you see that little line there, that is a running total, 172 words of 100,000 word total count. I have 145 words of 581 words that must be completed today. 500 words, that used to be like a blog thing, right? That, when you write a blog, you want to write 500 words a day. That's an easy challenge. Think about that. It would probably go up, maybe 800 words because I'm not starting until after the first of the year. But that's the way you manage a big project. you break the project into smaller chunks and you make it more manageable. You make it something that is doable. I can do this. This is a lot. If I can write 500 words a day, easy peasy. I can do that. Every day that you miss, that word count's going to go up. Just be aware of that. That sacred date, June 1st, 2022, is a sacred date. That's the date you've chosen. That's an arbitrary date. I admit that. Stuck my hand up my butt and pulled it out. I think half a year. That may be, optimistic. Am I giving myself grace? That's my deadline date. I need to hold myself to it. Now, I might be sooner. I might be done with my book sooner, 100,000 words by June 1st. If my story only needs 80,000 words, then I'm done. I don't have to do 100,000 words. If I'm at 100,000 words and I have to go over to 105, maybe I go a little bit more. You can fudge it, right? But that's the value of having a deadline. That is your deliverable day. That is your day of delivery. If you can meet that deadline, and probably, I think that's a reasonable deadline. If you're a good writer, 500 words a day, or 1,000 words a day, really, as long as you have a good mental idea of where your story is going, you're not a pantsy guy like Stephen King, fly by the seat of your pants. Okay. I'm the kind of writer where I kind of need to have a story. I have lots of stories in my mind. The problem I have is getting my stories from here to there, right? Like everybody else. The way to help you do that is to outline. That'll probably be a future video. Or right now, I'm having some Crown Royal. And I guess just give you an update. That's my tip for Scrivener 3. Get Scrivener 3 would be my first one. Get Scrivener 3. If you're contemplating whether or not you should get this program, I would say get the program. It is a really good program. It is definitely worth $50, and it will help you meet your writing goals. And I think organizing your writing, outlining your writing, you will not be stuck with these like I have been in the past. These are my index cards, and I have them, and I use them. That's what I was taught to use in graduate school. And I remember in graduate school putting those in, writing my subject headings on my index cards and having them all and putting my research underneath my index cards. Did all that, hated all that. Scrivener 3 makes this a breeze. And the nice thing, if you get Scrivener 3 and you figure this out, maybe another thing I could show you is those card sorting. It's just drag and drop. And it reorders all those pages for you on the fly, and you don't have to do jack diddly squat. It is awesome. It is an awesome program. Highly recommend it from me to you. And use this deadline tool to calculate the number of words. Make it doable in your brain. I can do this. You can do this. I know that I can. I know that you can. And if I can, you can. We'll do it together. We're good. Other news. Paint and Drink, which is, I think, now scheduled for December 29th. We're going to be painting the Christmas gnome, is still on schedule. My wife and I went and we purchased our libations, being one of them. I am not a drinker. My wife is not a drinker. I have enough booze to last me a lifetime, I think. The comment from stepson Darren was, well, gee, it's going to be a nonstop party. Cool. All right. It might be. I'm not anticipating. We have a few other activities, and I've been thinking about, I should probably share those. So this is, I'm done with the Scrivener 3 stuff, but this is just housekeeping because I wanted to talk about, I want to do this stuff live, because I don't want to get into the, B-roll and editing, and I just want to be me, right? Me to you. And when we have conversations, I mean, this is how I would interact with you if you were here. That's basically it. And I'd like to keep it on that level. This is who I am, and this is what I do, and this is how I talk, and okay. We can have some fun, and I want to share some things with you that might be helpful, but I want to stay out of the editing and the B-roll and doing stuff that is pre-recorded, like Casey Neistat. I love Casey Neistat, don't get me wrong. Casey Neistat is very famous. He records his events through the day, he edits them at night, and then he releases them the next day or so. I mean, that's been his shtick forever. And then I think he took a break from YouTube for a while. And there are others who do the same thing. Meaning, like a vlogger, right? But I think this Christmas, I am going to get out the GoPro because I know that we're going to go to Chip and Joanna Gaines up. Waco is about 80 miles or so from where we live. And I know that family want to go to see Christmas in Waco at the silos. And I'm going to take the GoPro. I'm going to strap that sucker on my chest, and I'm going to take some video. And I'm going to share that with you. Just because. Why not? And I need to ask everybody's permission. I want to make sure everybody's cool with that before I do it. So if there's an update, if somebody objects, then okay, I'll have to heavily edit, or I will just tell you, show you without. In doing that is take one of these cameras and take photos without including family in it. But that's the value of doing that, is just having fun and sharing that with you about going to Waco, looking at the lights on Fort Hood, which is a really Lake Belton on Fort Hood. It's on the Army post, but it's on Lake Belton. It's a drive-through. It's sort of like what used to be Zilker Park in Austin. I think they have it this year as Trail of Lights in Austin, but it's in Belton, and it's about a 15-minute drive, and it's supposed to be really good. We'll see. And there's some other things planned, including the paint and drink activity, where we're going to be painting a gnome with acrylic paint. I think it will all be fun, and that's okay. Anyhow, I think that is it for me tonight. That is your tooltip for Scrivener 3. If you're a writer, get Scrivener 3. That's one. Don't be afraid of it. There's others. Fade in if you want to write screenplays or screenwriting. Fade in is a really good program. You can always use Word or Google Docs, which is free. Not saying any of those things are bad, but Scrivener 3 is really helpful, and it makes organizing your writing projects absolutely phenomenal. With that said, I guess I want you to have a good night, and I will see you later with another tooltip, or maybe another something lesson learned. I just learned this thing like recently within the last couple days. I've been using Scrivener to outline my stuff on my Mac back here, and I learned this. I was like, holy crap, that's cool. I want to share it with you. That's the kind of thing I want to share with you. So with that, hasta luego. See you later, and take care.